Let me switch gears. I wanted to ask you about this. There are tributes are pouring in for Ross Perot. He's a self-made billionaire and two-time presidential candidate. He died today at the age of 89 after a battle with cancer. Former President George W. Bush, our old boss, said this: Texas and America have lost a strong patriot. Ross Perot epitomized the entrepreneurial spirit and the American creed. Most importantly, he loved his dear wife, children, and grandchildren. Laura and I send our heartfelt condolences to the entire Perot family as they celebrate a full life. As you know, Perot ran as an independent against 41, President Bush's dad, earning 19% of the popular vote, making him the most successful third-party candidate since Teddy Roosevelt in 1912. And you're a presidential historian, but also a friend of his son.
Yeah, look, President Bush said it right, patriot. Here's a man who started with nothing. He grew up in Texarkana, Texas, the son of a cotton broker in the Great Depression. He graduated, he became an Eagle Scout. He went to the Naval Academy. To the end of his life, the Navy personified the creed and the values and the system of honor that he had seen at Annapolis. That was so important to his life. He gets out of the Navy in 1957, goes to work for IBM, starts two of the biggest computing companies in America, EDS, Electronic Data Systems, and then later Perot Systems. He was a marvelous man with a great sense of history. He loved America. He loved America in every atom in his body. His entire life was one of service. Yes, he ran against 41 in 1992, ran again in 1996. As you said, biggest performance as a third-party candidate since Teddy Roosevelt's 1912 run as a progressive. And he did so not for self-aggrandizement, but because he felt deeply and keenly about challenges facing the country that he loved so deeply. It was so much fun a couple of years ago at a Christmas party at the Bush Library. He was sponsoring a tour of the Navy Chorus, the Navy Choir. And you should have seen this 80-some-odd-year-old man with a grin bigger than the state of Texas when they started singing Navy songs, the Navy hymn, and so forth. You would have thought that there was that teenager who went off to the Naval Academy in 1949 and became a midshipman.
Certainly that must have been something to see. I only have a few more seconds with you. And let me just ask you, Amy McGrath, she's going to challenge Senator Mitch McConnell in Kentucky. Leaders of the Senate, they always face a big challenge when they're up for re-election. A lot of money poured into this, but she just lost pretty substantially in the 2018 midterms for a congressional seat. Does she think she can win statewide?
Yeah, well, it was the second most Democratic seat in Kentucky that she lost by 3 points. Donald Trump carried the state of Kentucky by 30 points last time around. She has gone out of her way during her congressional campaign to say how liberal she was and how far to the left she is in the Democratic Party. Good luck to her. Leader McConnell is going to have a strong campaign. He immediately went right back at her, reminded people in Kentucky how liberal she is. If she couldn't win in the second most Democratic congressional district in the state, she's not going to be able to win statewide.
Maybe just one quick last word. Do you think the Senate Democrats are having a really hard time recruiting candidates that can win in these states?
Oh, absolutely. They've failed to get their top picks in places like Colorado. They failed here. They failed in Iowa. They're failing in Arkansas. They failed in Georgia, failed in North Carolina, failed in Maine several times. So, yeah, they're having difficulty getting good candidates.
Everyone would rather run for president, apparently, including Tom Steyer. All right, Karl Rove, thanks for joining us from Austin today.
You bet.